Well, welcome to a short tutorial on the AST1002 Lunar Observation Project. This is the cornerstone project of the course. This is the one project you want to really do well on because it's worth 200 points, which is 20% of your overall grade. Plus, if you submitted early, more than 1 week in advance of the due date, you get a 10% bonus on that. So that's really significant. All right? So all the due dates for it are listed in the syllabus, so check there. There are 5 major parts, and I'm going to go individually talk about each part so that you have no questions. Should you have a question, feel free to email me or call me if you like. All right, so let's get started. Okay, part 1 is your data observation. This is probably the longest part because you have to go out every other night for 30 days or for a month and look at the moon. Now, you have to know when to look, just like the sun, you know, it's between sunrise and sunset. Well, the moon is only up between moonrise and moonset. But if you don't know already, you'll find out that the moon does not always rise at the same time. It changes every day. So sometimes you need to be looking in the daytime. Now, there are some misconceptions the students have had. You do not have to observe the same time every night because the moon time is changing. That doesn't matter. But I want you to know how long it's been since the moon rise. That's important. So you have to look that up in a table online somewhere. So know when the moon rises. Then when you go and just subtract the time difference. So was it 1 hour later, 5 hours, 10 hours later? You don't have to get up in the middle of the night. There's no reason to do that. You might have to look before you go to bed or as soon as you get up in the morning, but you don't have to set your alarm clock for the middle of the night to get up just to look at the moon. Okay? You do not have to observe from the same location every day. So if you work somewhere or you're out at a ball field, you can count that. You don't have to always be in the exact same spot. Just record where you were. Likewise, if you go on vacation, you could even look for North Carolina. But just mark it down on your data sheet. Okay? And you do not have to start at any particular phase because I want you to work yourself through the entire lunar phase, which is a little over 28 days. So I want you to, you can start anytime you want, just record that and then see as it progresses so that you see the full cycle. Okay? Now there is a sample data observation sheet in there. This is on page 3 of the instructions for the Lunar Observation Project. I've outlined each thing, what I'd like in each spot, so you get a good example. Okay, part 2 is the tidal difference. This is making a data table and then plotting it. If you're unfamiliar, you can do it in pencil, you can do it in crayon, and then scan it and submit it to me. That's perfectly fine. But if you want to use Excel, which many of you have, may not be proficient in, I do have a little tutorial, a little worksheet to guide you step by step on how to use it in both 2007 and 2010 versions of Excel. They're very similar, so it should be no trouble for you. So for every day you observe, I want you to record some information. Now you'll have to look online because you need to get the highest high tide and the lowest low tide for the day, because there's usually 2 tides each day. So you need the highest high and the lowest low. Then I want you to take the difference of those, just subtract them. Okay? And then plot those on a table. And then I want you to make a little chart so that you can see graphically. Graphics is so much more visual. It'll give you much more information because you're going to have to draw some conclusions from this later on. Okay, part 3 is analysis of lunar phases and tides. Now this is where you're going to have to put on your thinking cap and look a little deeper. So I've made a little worksheet. Part 3A is called Lunar Phase Worksheet, and there are 5 questions to ask you about the lunar cycle, what you've been seeing, and then I want you to draw some pictures. So hopefully if you draw them on your data observation sheet, you'll have no trouble. But I want you to see the full sequence starting with the full moon. So you might not have started there, but in the end you'll have seen all the phases. Okay. Part 3B is lunar phase analysis. I want you to discuss general patterns you observe in the phases of the moon, the tides of the moonrise and moonset, and the location of the moon in the sky. You should see it changing based on how long it's been since moonrise. And then Part C is tidal correlation analysis. A lot of words there. Discuss any correlations, anything you see that relate between the cycle of the phase of the moon and the tidal differences that you've recorded. So just see what you can come up with. You don't need a whole lot, but I want you to be thinking. As part of this is critical thinking, looking a little deeper than just rote memorization or writing things down. In part 4, application of knowledge. There are 3 parts to this one also. The first is a lunar dial. And I've given you some discretion, but I'd like you to look to see, we can use a sundial during the daytime to tell roughly what time it is. Well, you should be able to use the moon to tell roughly what time it is. So I'd like you to think about that, what you've seen in your thing, and give me a short paragraph or 2. Make a video if you prefer, but something that goes along those lines. And how could we use the moon, just looking up, knowing what phase it is, tell me roughly what time it is. Okay, lunar myth buster. I'd like you to find a myth about the moon, such as like children misbehave when it's a full moon, and then I want you to find some evidence, a website, or devise an experiment that you could test the validity. You don't have to really do that experiment, but you write down what you would do in order to verify or disprove that myth. Okay, and I've given you a little example in the sheet. And then the third part is fishermen and tides. Why is knowledge of the tides important to fishermen? So I want you to look online or go talk to an experienced fisherman that you might know and see what they have to say about how do they use tides, the knowledge of the phases of the moon for their fishing. Part 5. This is the shortest part. It's called reflection. There's 3 requirements here. Discuss what you learned from this project. Discuss what you liked and disliked, and list any recommendations you might have to improve this. This project has expanded from what I've done in previous years based on recommendations from students. So I value your feedback and your comments, and so make an effort at it. Give me a sentence or 2 for each of those, and you should be good to go. All right, well, that's the short primer. I'm about to hang up now. So again, if you have any problems, email me or give me a ring.